With so many positions of need for the Buffalo Bills, we have to decide which positions are worth waiting on and which positions are worth that number 9 overall pick. Welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to another edition of Draft Coverage. We break down the NFL Draft. We break down the Buffalo Bills and team needs. We're into the second episode. Last episode, we talked about the running backs. Again, running backs has the 6th team need for the Buffalo Bills. At number 5, I had the wide receiver position. So we're going to talk in this episode about the wide receivers. Before we do that, however, I want to remind everyone, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because we will be live for the NFL Draft talking April 25th and 26th. Day 1 and 2 of the NFL Draft will be live right here on Believers Talk. Hit that subscribe button, then hit that notification bell. Like this video and leave a comment. Always helps out with YouTube if you do that, so I appreciate that in advance. And then you can also follow me on Twitter, link in the description below, so go ahead and follow me there as well. But thank you for joining me on this edition of Believers Talk as we talk about the wide receivers entering the 2019 NFL Draft. We talked about the Bills, where they sit in the NFL Draft, where their draft picks are, overall, all the picks, and also the draft needs. I broke that down for you. My top 6 draft needs, and wide receivers I ranked as 5th. And here's why I ranked wide receivers at 5. I'm not saying we don't need a wide receiver. I believe that we do. But if you look at the wide receiver depth of this draft, it's pretty remarkable, the wide receiver depth in this draft. I know everyone's talking about one guy in particular who, of course, blew everyone away at the combine, and that's DK Metcalf. And we have met with DK Metcalf. But there are some other wide receivers we met with, some other wide receivers that we've had some private workouts with, and just some other wide receivers that are names of interest that might still be available come the second, third round, day 2, day 3 even, that are good value. And we have to remember that when we're looking at the number 9 overall pick. Sure, DK Metcalf is a stud, right? Or at least we think he's going to be a stud at that number 9 pick. Is he worth the number 9 pick? A lot of people say yes. I'm still on the fence, and we've talked about that before. But just because you have a stud wide receiver, you have good wide receivers behind him. Let's talk about Ed Oliver for a second, for example. Who's behind him? And I'm not saying there's not. I'm just using him as an example because I know he's on a lot of draft boards. You know, Juwan Taylor from Florida. Who's behind him, offensive line? Is it worth waiting and getting maybe a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round wide receiver instead of getting the stud now and then being left with maybe not as good other positional players that we also need? And that's just a question that you have. I know, some people are talking about, I talked about the running back position in the last episode. Some people are talking about getting Josh Jacobs with the number 9 spot. Well, that's fine and good and whatever. First of all, I don't think he's worth a 9, but also you have enough running back depth where you can wait, you can hold off and still get a pretty good running back. And I feel the same way about the wide receiver position. Again, DK Metcalf, a great talent, and I'm not saying otherwise, but we need also the right fit. We don't just need any wide receiver. We need the right fit. We talk about signing Beasley. We talk about signing Brown. So now we have 2 slot guys, right? You have Zay and you have Cole Beasley, 2 slot guys. You have 2 burners in Brown and in Foster, right? 2 guys who can burn the field. So who is going to be our big guy? And I've been saying that for a while now, so far this offseason. We need that big guy. That guy has a presence, right? The guy who, when you throw up a 50-50 ball, you're pretty confident he's going to jump up and get it. Now, there are some wide receivers in the NFL already like that, and he would need time to develop, right? It's not like you're just there day 1. Even DK Metcalf, not like you're there day 1 and all of a sudden you have this trust with your quarterback where you can just go up and get the ball. So let's talk about some of the wide receivers in this upcoming NFL draft. We have met with a few, including DK Metcalf. Now, you talk about the pre-draft visits. We have met with a few wide receivers in that. I have the list here of the pre-draft visits we've had so far. N'Keal Harry, wide receiver out of Arizona State. He's met with the Buffalo Bills, taller wide receiver. That's a guy I've been keeping my eye on. And N'Keal Harry, just always been impressive to me at the NFL Combine. He was impressive. You look at his tape from Arizona State, I thought he did a pretty good job. We're talking about maybe a day 2, possibly early day 3 type pick at wide receiver, and that's someone you want to look at for that. So N'Keal Harry, wide receiver. Again, we met with DK Metcalf, wide receiver from Ole Miss. Everyone knows about DK Metcalf, the monster that he is. Again, he impressed everyone at the combine. He's impressed everyone so far with all of his intangibles, right? The things that you can't teach. But if you look at the film, guys, I'm telling you, watch the film of Ole Miss. Guy knows 4 or 5 routes. He just runs those routes. And when you have a presence like he does, maybe that's all you need. And I understand that. But you want to be able to teach this guy how to run crisp routes, how to find a way to get open. Open in college is not the same as open in the NFL. And he needs to know that just like all the rest of these wide receivers do. So I get it. He is a stud athlete. And if we picked him at 9, I'm not sitting here telling you I'd be disappointed with that pick. But at the same time, are there now I'm not going to say better options. Are there options out there that are tangible, that can fill in the same role that he would fill in, and then we can fill someone else at 9, maybe a good tight end at 9 or something like that to be a playmaker for Josh Allen? You also go down this list, another Ole Miss wide receiver, A.J. Brown. We've met with him as well. And then you look at Hakeem Butler. Hakeem Butler's been moving up draft boards like crazy. 6'5" wide receiver from Iowa State. He's been moving up draft boards. A lot of people are high on him. He's coming out of nowhere. Is he someone that might be worth looking at? Maybe trade back in day 1 or maybe move up day 2. He might be available there day 2, but we're not so sure. So if we want to be starting to get him, move up a little bit again, or move back in the first round. He'll definitely be there late first round. Will he be there early second? You might need to move up to get him. But with 10 draft picks, we can afford to do that. So is this someone you're looking at? Again, Hakeem Butler, 6'5", 225 pounds from Iowa State. Someone else I've been keeping my eye on. He's looked very good. And a lot of people are high on this guy, and I can see why. Then the next guy I want to talk about is J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. We did have a visit with him, a private visit, and we were there at the pro day for Stanford. So we did get to see him play as well, or at least show off his stuff there. 6'2", 225-pound wide receiver from Stanford, a guy that's been linked with the Buffalo Bills a couple times. But again, with this mock draft season, you'll see a bunch of these names listed with every team basically. And so those are the wide receivers I'm really looking at. Now, again, the wide receiver depth for this draft class is pretty big. You got Deebo Samuel, you got Isabella, you got some really good names out there. And I'm not saying that they're not, but again, you need to find the right fit for the Buffalo Bills. We have those slot guys, which would be Deebo Samuel, who had a great combine, had a great Senior Bowl, but he's more of a slot type receiver. And maybe some people will think, well, you can never have enough of those. Maybe not. Maybe you can have 5 good slot receivers and have a good wide receiving core. I'm not sure, but from everything I've seen, that one standout stud guy, and we don't have that. We have good speedsters on the outside. We have 2 good slot guys. Who's going to be our stud? Again, maybe it's DK Metcalf. Maybe it's A.J. Brown. Maybe it's Hakeem Butler. Maybe it's Whiteside. Maybe it's N'Keal Harry. These are some names that I'm looking at for the wide receiver position. Let me know the wide receivers that you're looking at. Again, thank you for joining my Believers Talk. My name is Joe. Hit that subscribe button because, again, we will continue to cover every single draft position of need for the Buffalo Bills. I will be giving you a first-round mock draft, and I will also be giving you a full 7-round mock draft for the Buffalo Bills, trades included. So you want to be here for that. I'm gonna have some fun with that. Obviously, it's hard to mock these things, right? It's almost impossible, or some would say it is impossible because of trades, because of different acquisitions during free agency and player trades as well. It's hard to mock these things. We all know there's gonna be a couple surprises. There always are surprises that throw everyone for a loop, but we'll see what happens come draft day. You can see right here live as well. We can talk about as it happens. I will be live for the NFL draft, so I have to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Again, thank you for joining me. Leave a comment. What wide receivers are you looking at? Who do you think will interest you? Who do you think would be a good fit for the Buffalo Bills? Again, thank you for joining me on Believers Talk. I will see you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.